Activision was Activision-y, and Activision's blocked share play on PS4 for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. And actually,
what is share play? We talked about this like 9 months ago.
And there's been reports that it's also been blocked for Ghosts retroactively. So what share play is, it's the ability where a person who owns a game can share a game to someone else on their friends list in 60-minute chunks. Basically, they can play without owning a copy. And Sony, I think it's like 2 weeks old, and Sony announced, when they announced it and they were talking about it and really getting into the nitty-gritty, they said, there was questions, what about third-party developers? And they said all PS4 games will, be share play enabled. And apparently that's not the case with Activision. So Activision doesn't want you to be able to digitally lend out your games to friends. Activision themselves has said that the reason for doing so is because that the feature is new, and they want to ensure a quality play experience for everyone involved, which is the fucking response that every company gives for everything ever when they fuck you in the ass.
They said our engineers did not have access to it before it launched.
Yeah,
why wouldn't they? So we haven't had a chance to evaluate it to see how it will impact the experience across all modes of play. So of course we wouldn't include a feature in our game without having the chance to test it.
Of course we wouldn't do anything that allows people to play our game without spending money. So here's the deal. Sony put in a censor option that basically allowed, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but it was to prevent spoilers from being leaked by doing this.
Yeah, so publishers could choose, okay, you can play, but I don't want them to see this cutscene, so we'll put something over the screen that says you can't see it.
What Activision chose to do was censor everything.
Yeah, which is really funny when you think about it. Censor the entire game.
It's kind of...
You can try to play it, it's not going to work out, but
it's kind of hilarious.
Here's the thing, though. I mean... Doesn't Activision have the right to do this?
Well, yes, but this is my problem with it on both ends. Activision comes across looking like greedy douchebags like they always do.
Well, yeah.
And Sony comes across as looking really fucking stupid, because who the fuck... I mean, why do you tell people that everyone's going to sign on for this? No, not everyone's going to sign on for this.
Sure.
Especially because, okay, so it's 60 minutes at a time, but you have unlimited shares. And you can immediately share it right back to the same person.
Oh, you can? So they can play it forever.
They can play it forever
for like a 6-hour chunk of time.
But with the stipulation that I believe you have to be on the console, and you have to basically every 60 minutes go reshare, basically.
So, but basically though, you can have entire gameplay session with your friend. They never can pay for it.
So I mean, Activision does have that right, but I think. I just hate that corporate speak. Just come out and say it. Just come out and say you want to make the fucking money.
Well, no one's ever going to say that, though.
Yeah, but I really fucking... It drives me nuts.
No one's ever going to say that.
I know. So Sony should never have promised something that was so painfully obviously not going to be true. And Activision should just come out and say, buy our game. If you want to play our game, buy our game.
Well, we know that their sales have been down versus previous Call of Duty years.
No, not this one. This one's sold like fucking hotcakes.
Oh, the pre-sales were down, though.
Yeah, well, pre-sales are down on everything, and we'll touch on a little bit of that later. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a bumble on both parts. I don't really think... I mean... I hate to say it, I don't honestly think Activision is really the main party at blame here. I think it's Sony.
I think it's just so weird that like you can do this to begin with, and people didn't think there was going to be something like this that was going to happen at some point.
I have to be honest with you, and maybe I'll get flamed in the threads, or maybe someone will explain it, but I've read things on SharePlay. I have a fucking PS4, and I don't really understand how it works. I really don't. I mean, I think that's the biggest barrier that Activision doesn't need to worry about.
It's funny because they're instituting something that Xbox wanted to institute Xbox One about sharing the entire game, and Sony's kind of done that a little bit. So that's kind of weird.
With like an annoyance restriction of have to change. You have to every hour you have to be like, yes, they can play more. See,
I didn't know that. I thought it was just 1 hour and that's it to try out the game. This is now we can just each buy a game each and then just. Well,
the thing is I would never use it because a game like that, any game that I'm going to get really into, any game that I'm likely to play for less than an hour burst.
Can get your Doritos out, can get out your Mountain Dew, bro.
Is a downloadable title that I'm going to pay the $15 for. Sure. And anything that I'm going to want to plunk down and put my time into is not something that I'm going to have to. I don't want to have to coordinate that with you. I'm just going to go out and buy the game. So to me, I don't think the feature sounds that attractive, other than maybe trying out a game. And I'm the guy who doesn't even play demos. At this point, I know what I'm going to enjoy and what I'm not, and my disappointing surprises are few and far between. So, honestly, the whole thing is not a big deal to me. I just think it's kind of silly.